right, welcome to the book club. I'm Dylan, here with the man who is just a stick with a ball for a head. Keith, what's up, buddy?
Hello, Dylan. I didn't know you could read. All right, we're back.
Hey, gotcha. My reference for those that weren't aware is that Dobby was the actor, quote unquote, who played Dobby was just a ball.
Oh.
With that attached to a stick.
So. All right, makes sense. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Here at the Buddy Book Club, we're breaking down some box office bangers, and this week we'll be discussing 2002's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets film. If you'd like to recommend a book or movie for us to read or watch, reach out to us. Buddy past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, slide into our DMs or Twitter or Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, so please download and give us a review. Give us a follow on social media, all that good stuff, please, and thank you, Keith. Our trip on the Hogwarts Express continues. We've done Sorcerer's Stone book and movie. We've done the Chamber of Secrets book. And so now, naturally, we are on to the Chamber of Secrets film. I've seen it countless times. This is your first time seeing Chamber of Secrets movie, right?
Correct, yeah.
Without further ado, let's just jump into Stock Up, Stock Down. For Stock Up, what do you got?
Stock up, really hating a coworker.
Oh.
Fortunately, I've had good coworkers along the way. I haven't really experienced this, but I've heard those horror stories. You know, luckily I was able to meet D-Man, the love of my, just partner. Just able to meet D-Man at work, so that hasn't really happened for me. But Lockhart clearly fits the bill of someone that the coworkers absolutely despise. And one of the biggest tonal changes, I think, from the book to the movie, and correct me if I'm wrong here, D-Man, is when we find out Ginny has been taken to the Chamber of Secrets, it's in, I believe, the teacher's lounge or whatever,
Correct.
right?
The teacher's like break room where they're smoking cigarettes and whatnot.
And I think McGonagall had just come back or was just talking to the Weasleys. So she's like super somber and one of the hardest conversations you can have. So she's just kind of like gone mentally. The vibe I got was like everyone in the teacher's lounge is terrible mood. And then Locker comes in all being like, hello, everyone. What did I miss?
Yeah.
You know what? Like, go fucking figure it out yourself, you like dickhead. They're pissed at him. You go figure it out type of thing, right? In the movie, I don't know if you caught the vibe on the movie, but this is 5 seconds after them telling Ginny is likely dead and captured. McGonagall, I don't know how else to describe it other than has a look of pure ecstasy and glee and joy and gratification of being able to tell Lockhart he has to go find her. She's like, oh, guess what? You're going to have to go find her now. And she's like smiling. I'm like, Wait, what? She hates him so much that it was almost worth it to her that Ginny may be dead in order to expose his fraud, which I think a lot of people can relate to. So Stock Up really hating a coworker.
Yeah, she was jazzed. All in all, is not a great look for McGonagall. Her character takes a couple of hits. But yeah, she was almost gleeful that Ginny was taken so that she's
like smiling.
So that she can call Lockhart on his shit, which is hilarious. McGonagall's supposed to be a caring, though stern and strict but fair person. Like, that's her thing. This is more the fake McGonagall that I created with the House Cup betting system. Yeah. It's like she had gambled that one kid would get murdered, and now Lockhart has to be on the case, so she's just tickled pink with the idea knowing that Ginny's going to die. So she's like, yes, I'm going to win the squares that we have going that a child will die. Not a great look for McGonagall right there. My first stock up is, and a lot of these are just going to be like movie based naturally, and I think I've did this for the last one, but it just needs to be said again. The child actors, that's a stock up for me. It's just child actors in general. I don't know if it was because when we were kids that kids movies with child actors were big, or now that we're older we just don't see them. But you know, I can think of countless movies, like movies that were out in the theater that were directed at kids. Usually they're sports related movies, but The Sandlot, Stand By Me, The Goonies, like these are blockbuster Steven Spielberg attached movies that have child actors. I feel like there's been some, maybe like Super 8 or something like that, or whatever those other ones were. But so I feel like we don't have a lot of those lately is my point. And usually the child actors are pretty terrible. I am once again in this movie surprised by how good the actors were, like the kid actors. I thought in general all of the acting was very good in this movie, but I want to call out Rupert Grint for one, who plays Ron. His facial expressions are top notch. The guy can act without speaking, which is a talent in its own right. Supposedly, in the Forbidden Forest, when they like meet Aragog, that's probably his peak for the facial acting, because he's the character. Ron is deathly afraid of spiders. Well, it turns out that Rupert Grint also has serious arachnophobia, and he was so scared of spiders. This part I don't believe that
Method
he,
acting.
yeah, he just got scared of spiders. Yeah. He went to like the desert, slept with camel spiders crawling on him just so he could get deathly afraid of them. No, but this part I don't necessarily believe that the actor Rupert Grint hasn't seen in full the part with the spiders because it scares him too much. I was like,
I don't when he was a kid, I can believe that.
Like,
But yeah, now I don't know.
But supposedly he was able to draw upon his fear of spiders. He just thought about spiders during that scene because obviously there's no spiders there. But he just thought about spiders and was able to do all those facial expressions. So proud of him, 10 points for Gryffindor on that one. And then I thought both Malfoys, but Draco was really good in this once again. He's just so hateable. He does such a good job of being hateable throughout. And you had referenced at the top his I didn't know you could read line. The guy straight up improvised that. He forgot what his line was supposed to be. So he just turns to Harry as Goyle and is like, I didn't know you could read.
He's a great pronunciation of Potter. Just
Potter.
Phenomenal.
Potter. Yeah. I love it. So all in all, I thought the child acting was great. Ginny, maybe not so much. But
Ginny had the funniest part of the movie. I don't know what you're talking about.
When she almost died? What do you mean?
No, when they meet Lucius Malfoy and she like sticks up for Harry, the way the camera cut to her was hilarious. It was just like out of nowhere. The whole scene I thought was funny. I was like laughing.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, I think Hermione also throws out a Dumbledore line there where it's like fear of a name is fear of the thing itself or something like that, which I'm pretty sure was a Dumbledore line from the first book. But yeah, Ginny, although maybe not my favorite, doesn't create issues in this one. In future movies, I fear that I will be talking a lot about how much I hate Ginny Weasley.
You're leading the witness here. I got to see it for myself. You keep on mentioning it, but we haven't even seen her act yet.
Yeah, she had like 4 lines. And there's a reason she had 4 lines in a book that she has a lot of lines in. So
she doesn't really speak much in the book. I was looking for her to be more of like breadcrumbs in order to like see, obviously that she was being taken over, but it wasn't really that apparent, I don't think, in the book.
That she was the one that had the diary and was doing all this stuff. Yeah, you'd think they'd throw in a couple scenes of her like pushing her food around at the Gryffindor house table and just looking glum. What else do you have for stock up?
Stock up, attempted murder in a school.
Oh my Jesus. My God.
What?
Go on.
What are you talking about? Well, the scene with Lucius Malfoy, and obviously this is a much bigger change from the book, but and Dumbledore was great. That scene was great with them two talking. But then Lucius Malfoy walks away, and Harry's like, "Oh, I'll get him," and brings him the sock in the book, which I kind of wanted to see Harry take off his sock, the sweaty, dripping sock, and put the book around it. I think that would have been better, but they didn't. He put it in the book, but he tricks him, and then Dobby's freed because of that. And instead of being like, "What the hell?" getting a little upset about it, he pulls out the Avada Kedavra or whatever. What's the killing curse?
Yeah, Avada Kedavra.
Yeah, he pulls that out day one. That was just in front of everyone, ready just to kill a student over that. So, and is there no such thing as attempted murder in the wizarding world? Like, he can just get away with that? He's like, well, I guess I got pushed back while I was trying to literally kill someone. But what are you going to do? Let's just move on. Yeah,
I found that part to be pretty interesting and wonder if he just went off the rails there, because supposedly there was some improvising around that scene where the actor Christopher Columbus just said, go for it, like say something else to Harry. Yeah. And he was like, you might not last long here or something like that, or, you're not always going to be around. And Harry's like, yes, I will be, which they both just improvised. And cool, good for them, fine line. But I'm wondering if he improvised the Avada Kedavra. One, as movie watchers and also as book people at this time, we don't know what that curse is. So if you've read further in the books, you would know, obviously, it's a killing curse. But if you're trying to just, pull out of an Avada Kedavra in the middle of Hogwarts, you're just sending yourself to, you're going to kill Harry Potter here and then send yourself to Azkaban, which is, I don't know if they have the death penalty in the Wizarding world. I don't think so. So Yeah, it seemed like a bit much over Dobby, even though I think the bigger problem Lucius had was that a child got one over on him. But still, to murder a child seems like a bit much.
Apparently, you're right. Apparently, he was improvising that because he was reading book 4 and he couldn't think of any other curses, and it was like, "Oh, I'll throw this out there," and they kept it in.
Oh, really? That's what
yeah,
happened?
that's what I read. I mean, it seems like that would be something that JK or someone would step in and be like, "Yeah, we can't have you just attempting murder in the middle of the hallway here. You're a bad guy, but not that bad."
Like, yeah, like save it for book 4. Throw
Right.
out the slug curse, and we'll call it a day.
Right, exactly. Erectus, what is it again?
I don't know. You knew it.
Sluggo erecto?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
My next stock up is, I got to give it a shout out to the CGI and maybe just the set pieces and practical effects as well. I thought Dobby looked incredible in the movie. I want to know your take because I'm sure you've seen Dobby.
Yeah, the problem is I'm on Instagram, and now that I'm
Yeah.
in the Harry Potter thing, I'm seeing so many clips. I'm like, I just skip by them now because I'm like, fuck, I can't be spoilers here.
I was listening to a podcast today, and the ad, talk about targeted podcast, the ad was for like the Harry Potter exhibit coming to Boston.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're bringing like whole set pieces and whatnot
That's legit.
to Boston. So, like I said, I thought Dobby was great. I loved the Howler. I loved the way it was represented. Like how they, I don't know the word, but like personified the envelope to like make it seem like it was actually doing it. I love that stuff. I don't think the mandrakes were CG. Actually, I know they weren't. They were practical effects. But there was just something we talked about on the book pod, and you were interested to see. What did you think about the mandrakes?
Yeah, I think that was kind of what I was expecting. That you can't have like a little baby there. You mentioned it too in the other pod. They actually are like, yeah, we'll chop them up and murder them and make a recipe out of them. I was like, wait, what? So they actually say that in the movie. So
They look more like ginseng or something like that. And
they look like they deserve to die. So that's fine. You know?
Definitely deserve to die.
Yeah.
Supposedly and I'm going to say supposedly a lot because some of the stuff I saw on the internet and I'm not 100% sure on. So if I say supposedly, it means no one can clap back at me.
We're fine. Yeah, we're fine
But
with that. It's all true.
The Dumbledore office was like the most expensive set piece to be created in the cinematic history or something like that, which I don't know how that's possible, but supposedly.
I feel like Christopher Nolan makes like set pieces that move and rotate and like Inception. Like that wasn't more costly.
I think that was just a hallway that moved. It just felt good to be back at Hogwarts, and I don't know if it's necessarily a hate for me, but once again, I feel like this movie, just like the book, is just kind of like an extension of the first book and movie, and it's the same kind of thing done all over again. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And as someone who, when I saw this movie in 2002, hadn't been in the Harry Potter universe in a year, like the cinematic universe, it just felt good to be back. I think wherever they filmed it, like the castle or school or wherever they did the estate, it's just so perfect. I loved everything about being back in there and seeing stuff. I mean, even McGonagall's classroom before she goes into her Chamber of Secrets spiel, which I'll get into later, it's just so cool. Like it's massive. There's animals hanging in cages all over the place. There's crazy drawings on boards. I feel like any of those wide shot scenes, you can just pause and spend a long time just looking at all the different stuff happening. And that includes the Weasley house, which I thought was awesome and done so well. It's like a little cottage that you can tell this family has grown, and as they've grown, they've built onto this little cottage in such a janky way, but it works for them. And even down to their dining room table, which has all sorts of mismatched chairs that they probably got at the local yard sale. I loved it. So the look of it felt great.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but when I was reading, I was picturing more of the Harry Potter movie world. So when I saw this movie, it wasn't as much of a, oh yeah, that's what that would look like. Because I'm already invested in the first movie. Now I'm carrying those ideas over to the second one. So like now that I'm seeing the movie, I'm like not surprised as much as I was, I guess, when I reread the first one and watched the first movie.
Yeah, so someone who hasn't seen a lot of the movies, and now you're rereading the books and have now starting to see the movies, are you finding that your pictures in your mind from the movies are taking over your pictures in your mind from the books?
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but I also think that's a little bit just revisionist history, right? When I'm reading it, I'm just like picturing whatever I want to picture, then I watch it and it's like, yeah, that's what I was picturing, you know? So it's just more of that like self-fulfilling prophecy that which you don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, or my imagination or the movie. So,
well, no, it's for sure that the egg came first. Yeah, that's how it works.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, you've solved that philosophical question that no one's been able to answer just like that?
Yeah, because the first chicken had to come from an egg.
Based on what?
So as some animal had a mutant egg that was a chicken egg, and then that chicken was born, and it mated with another one of those mutant things and had more chicken eggs.
What if it was like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it was a...
Green ooze?
Yeah, and so it turned into a chicken. Gotcha there, kid, didn't I?
Yeah. You know what? I didn't think about that. It was like some green prehistoric ooze that a dinosaur laid in that turned into a chicken.
Exactly. And then it grew 8 wings.
Head to buddybookclub.com for more information on that.
You can't come at me with chicken stuff, kid. That's where my expertise lies. I don't have many expertise. Actually, I haven't done other than the chicken wing theory. That's it. So don't come at me ever.
All right, that's fair. I respect it. My next stock up is nightmares. So stock up to nightmares here.
All right.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is a kid's movie that's based on a kid's book. It's rated PG. But boy, does this movie get dark pretty fast. We had talked about before how the opening credits get a little darker and darker and darker. I feel like this one is already pretty dark, so I don't know how it could get darker from the opening credits standpoint. But the creepy voice of the basilisk saying, "Kill, kill, kill," and then they're talking about, oh, this message is written in blood, and the message is like, her skeleton will lie in the chamber forever. And yes, I do understand that this is from the book, like all this stuff was in the book, but when you see it, it just kind of brings it to life a little more. And I thought in general it was like a pretty scary movie. Like, I would wonder, for parents out there, what age do they feel like is appropriate to show their kid this movie? Because I feel like the nightmares might be inevitable. I mean, even the spiders running after them, even that when Harry goes to Nocturne Alley, like all the creepy witches and wizards being like, "Oh, hello, boy." It's like that would have spooked me as a kid, I think. But I was a little softy, so I know in Germany, which, you know, it's Germany, so you think they'd be a little looser, but they changed a bunch of this stuff. Like, they changed. You know, I don't know exactly what they changed, but they changed a lot of it. They censored a lot of it so it could get a different rating, whatever their rating system is at over there. I don't know. And then what's funny is that all the countries around it didn't censor it. So there was a big black market trading of outside of Germany copies so that the Germans could see the uncensored version. But yeah, I thought it was pretty scary. What did you think?
Well, yeah, I think Ellie was, when we were watching it, said that she had nightmares from like certain scenes, which, like the spider scene, obviously, the last scene, there's a lot of, I would say, scary scenes, but I will counter that there were a few things that were left out that I actually had to stock down for being a kid's movie. So this is the first time that you've been buying and I'm selling essentially the same thing.
Oh, okay.
So you can buy my stock, right? Because I'm selling it.
Yeah.
Anyways, one is Mr. Weasley. What happened to him? I mean, talk about just emasculating a character and just making him just the weakest. You go from being the biggest swinging dick on the block to, I don't know who that was. I don't even know who that character was. What was he doing, kid? He didn't even throw down. He doesn't throw punches at Lucius Malfoy at all. He's just like, get out of here, Lucius, after getting insulted to his face like 15 different ways. Just a big fizzle there, even though that scene was funny, like I mentioned.
I was wondering how long it would take us to get to talking about Mr. Weasley not throwing hands. So I'm glad it only took 20 minutes.
Hate to see that.
But what did you think? Because we were talking about the CGI and also the scare factor. What did you think about the look of the basilisk itself?
Looked more like the Game of Thrones dragon, honestly. So I was like, oh, where's the wings in this bad boy?
Yeah. I thought it looked more like a dragon or like some sort of sea snake. I thought it was the only PG part of the movie. It was not scary whatsoever because it was so fake looking. Like, it didn't look like something that would be real. Did you ever watch the Kevin Sorbo Hercules series back in the day? And I feel like I've asked you this before.
Yeah, and Xena followed it right away.
Yeah, Xena, the warrior princess, Lucy Lawless. It reminded me of something out of Hercules. It just wasn't real like.
Well, you also only see it for like 30 seconds and then immediately gets its eyes cut out and it like can't smell Harry. It's like, what is this thing even that scary? Like, it's kind of weak.
Fox did poke its eyes out in the book too, like pretty early on. It has to.
I'm just saying it's hard to be intimidated by something that just like shows up for the first time in the movie and 2 minutes later its biggest weapon's gone. It's like, that wasn't that scary apparently.
Yeah, and then when it blocks Harry in that pipe, it's like, oh, Harry's done for. But it just moves on. It's like, wait, well, hold on. Use your tongue. Snakes smell with their tongues. I know this. I had zoo books as a kid. But as someone that grew up watching Aladdin a lot, when Jafar at the end of Aladdin turns into a snake, like he turns into a cobra, that was legit. And that was scary but awesome. This was just like some sort of weird sea snake thing. I think what it needed was a head that was different from its body. Like the head just kind of went into the body. Most venomous snakes have their venom sacs out. You know what I mean? And maybe I'm making that up. I'm just thinking about like pit vipers.
No, I was like, I don't know what you mean, but okay. Yeah.
Well, it just meant like the head itself should be like separate from the body. This thing was just like, its silhouette was just straight. So I just think it needed some sort of differentiator. I don't know. I'm probably being too picky.
I thought what was scarier was when Harry started talking to the snake. I was like, oh shit. Like, I didn't realize he was speaking like that to the snake. That is scary. You know, like this book gets banned for being like demonic. If you showed me that clip, I'm like, yeah, well, we can't have the hero doing that. What's going on here? This hero's literally like speaking in the devil's tongue.
Yeah, I thought out of that whole scene, the only part that I thought was scary was just Tom Riddle being like charmingly creepy. Which I always find to be unsettling is when someone's being like smiling, but they're being really mean. It's like that bucks me up.
I agree.
The last one I had was just a good slow clap.
We're on the opposite end here.
Stock up to a good slow clap. I'm stock upping it because the stock for a slow clap is at an absolute zero.
Is it? That's a high selling stock, I thought. No?
I don't know. It just it never really works for me, and it definitely didn't work here, but I had to just stock it up because we're talking about at the end of the movie when the basilisk is vanquished, Tom Riddle is identified as Voldemort and put to bed, and they're having a feast in the Great Hall to celebrate that no one died, everyone's getting unpetrified, and in walks Hagrid, who, you know, our boy Hagrid has been falsely accused of opening the Chamber of Secrets, not once, but twice. He has spent the last 2 months in Azkaban, which after getting into the third book, we know how terrible that must be. And what sort of welcome does he receive when he walks into the Great Hall? But a slow clap? Like a couple of Gryffindors are like, oh, Hagrid's back. And then, like, it gets a little bit more after that. But can we have, like, I don't know, a public apology, like a pardon from the Minister of Magic that shows up and bows down to Hagrid? He also got let out of prison,
like, 3 weeks later because they're like, we'll send the one owl that, like, can barely fly. It's not that important to get him out. It's like, huh?
Go send an owl to get him out of there. Excuse me, no. How about someone apparates, takes him out of jail, and apparates back? Like, what are we sending an owl for to Azkaban so he can continue to live with Dementors? Yeah. I was a little shook for it. I thought Hagrid didn't deserve it.
Yeah, I'll add my 2 cents because my stock down was the finishing last slow clap for people. You know how they do that when like someone's like last place and they like come in, they're like, yeah. So I think we're on the same page, actually. I thought you were going to go the opposite route. But the problem was it's just that, one, as a viewer, Hagrid goes to Azkaban. He doesn't really fight. He's like, all right, I guess I'm going there. Like, if you know what Azkaban is, but now that we do in book 3, you'd be like, fuck no, I'm not going there. This isn't me. I'll fight to the tooth and nail. Like, I'm not going there, right? And instead he's like, all right, sounds good. Like, I thought he was just going there, read a couple books, do a couple push-ups. He'll be out in a couple weeks, no big deal, right? He's going to like the worst place of all time. He's got to be fighting a little bit harder. Nextly, the only time we hear about Hagrid after he gets taken away is them saying his name in vain, being like, why the hell did he send us over there? He's not top of mind in any way. So then the ending when Hermione comes, you're like, what a great feel. Like that gif where Ron looks and then Harry's head pops out and looks. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep,
amazing.
Yep.
I was like, this is a great ending. And then you hear like the stone cold Steve Austin music and like the glass break and the doors open and you're like, Hagrid's back. And I'm like, okay, like why do I care about that? You know, it doesn't like hit like they think it's gonna hit, and then they do hit the slow clap, and it's an awkward 30 seconds for no reason, and the movie ends.
Yeah,
it seems like the ending of the movie was like, this is Hagrid's movie. This is like a movie for Hagrid. It didn't make any sense. It made no sense.
Yeah, they look over and see Hermione. She comes back and say, okay, great. Hagrid comes in the door. It should be a sprint to see who can give that man a hug first, and Dumbledore should be there and apologize to him. Why? Because he was sent to Azkaban, no trial.
But no one has said one word since that happened of being like, this is wrong, this is unjust, like how dare. There's not been one word said about him. It's just like, we forgot he hasn't been on screen for 45 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, I thought you raised from the dead when they opened the door. I was like, oh, was he dead? Like what? Like the kind of welcome you get, he should have just been sitting at the table being like, he's back, and like giving a head nod to everyone. Like that was such a weird ending to me. It didn't make any sense.
No, I do agree with him walking in. It was like such a weird thing. He should have been at the head table, and Dumbledore should have just said, Hagrid is back and vindicated, you know, he's got a public apology from the Minister of Magic, and he's now has his wand, and he dangles his wand out for everybody, and they, you know, then slow clap.
So slow clap's still in there.
My first talk down is dueling spells. This is a big problem for me with the whole Harry Potter movies, and it starts in this book as we're starting to get more spells happening, especially spells around fighting. A wand is a tool, but it is also a weapon, and it can be used to do things like make someone shoot slugs out of their mouth, or disarm someone, or do legitimately anything. That's the best part about magic, is a wand can do anything. In a duel, you could turn someone into a different animal. You could have ropes come out of your wand and tie them down. You could have legitimately anything that you can think of happen if you know the spell for it. But why does it matter? That's, in my mind, that's what it should be. So I guess I don't understand like why it matters what spell you cast in these movies if all of the spells do the exact same thing. So Harry and Malfoy are at the dueling club. They cast totally different spells against one another, and they both have the same effect. There's like a light, and it pushes the other person away, right? Or it knocks them down. They cast totally different spells. So why would they have the exact same effect? And then Harry also casts a third spell, which he learns from the Tom Riddle book, the Tom Riddle Diary, against the spiders when they're running away in the Forbidden Forest, and it has the exact same effect that the other two completely different spells had. A light comes out and the spider shoots away. And that's going to continue to be a problem that I will bring up throughout these movies, because it seems like there should be so much creativity when it comes to spell casting, but any spell that people cast is just a flash of light and someone gets thrown into something or on the ground or whatever the case is. It's not cool. Does that bother you at all, or is it just me?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's the one thing where they can finally be creative and go outside the book. You can do endless things, but instead they're like, well, the book doesn't really say exactly what they're saying, so let's just like do something that's just basic. It's like they're shooting laser beams at each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a gun. All it is it turns into a gun, which is not fun. Like, that's not what wizarding is.
Yeah, I wish there was more dynamics. Like, for instance, if someone shot something at you and it's a strength spell and you do, I mean, this is getting more into like RPG games, but if someone shoots like a strength spell at you and you do like a agility spell back, they counter each other or something. You know, like it should be like rock, paper, scissors when you go in the dueling club. It shouldn't be, let me shoot a laser and you shoot a laser.
And I do understand that a spell has to hit another person. So until it does, I do get that there's some like targeting aspect, which I feel like should also be part of Defense Against the Dark Arts or a class or something, is like they just go out to a targeting range. Because if you have to actually aim your wand and spell, like a spell's not a homing beacon, like it's not going to home on to the person you're targeting. So It feels like that's an important part of spellcasting, especially when it comes to dueling, is like to be able to hit a moving target or whatever the case is. But either way, before that spell hits someone, and this is just my understanding of it, I don't know exactly how it works, but it seems to make sense based on the movies and books and whatnot. But until it hits that person, I can understand it being like a beam of light or nothing at all, whatever the case is. But once it does hit that person, it should be like that spell should take effect to whatever it is. So if you're dueling, like a rope binding thing, like all the spell hits the person and ropes get them. Or if you're fighting spiders, you shoot something out and their arms become wiggle worms, like gummy worms, whatever the case is. They can't run anymore. It seems like with the movies and having a visual medium, you should be able to cast super cool spells.
Yeah.
And I know these kids are only in their second year, but they should still be able to cast some interesting things. If you're these kids, you would want to learn all sorts of spells. When I picked up Mortal Kombat for the first time, I was trying to figure out all the moves that character could do. Back A, or hold down an A until the fight starts, then you do the crazy kicks. Like, I want to know all of the cool things that I can do, or all the funny stuff. Like, it feels like kids would be doing funny stuff all the time, and then they'd be asking their friends, oh, how did you do that? And it's an unfortunate part that's not included in... And I understand this movie is 2 hours and 41 minutes long, so let's not make it longer. But that's not even taking up time to just, instead of having a light that shoots something away, have something cool happen. The dueling spells, stock down. It was terrible. What else you got for stock down?
I think this is going to be right in line with what you're saying, but having a wand stock down... Based on the book, I kind of thought that Ron's wand was just kind of wonky or kind of shitty. It was like my American Muscle Nissan Sentra. The check engine light's going to come on at one point. You're just going to ignore it. You're not going to worry about it. In a couple weeks, it'll go away. Then it'll come back on. It'll go away. It's just like sometimes it's going to be like a little janky. Sometimes it's not going to work correctly.
Yeah.
But that's just part of the fun of having the car and the wand, right? But in this movie, it seems like there's like no point in ever using the wand. Like, why is he even carrying it around? Every time he's done anything in the movie, it backfired, shot back at him. Which asks the question, why doesn't he just use the other end of the handle and shoot it? So it backfires and just goes forward, right?
Hey, that's actually, next level.
Yeah, I mean, someone needed to be like, just turn the wand around, bro. But also, I think that the fact that Lockhart could pick it up and use it, why don't they just have spare wands lying around? I mean, the wand is the most important thing, I thought. That's why I'm stocked down it, because I don't think it is. Because apparently you could just go the whole year without one.
Yeah.
But why don't they just have, like, random ones lying around like they have broomsticks? So, like, someone's wand's not working, they lose it, they can just pick one up and, it's not going to be as powerful, but at least they can use something.
I couldn't agree with you more. It makes no sense. It's like when you're in gym class and you forgot your gym clothes, it was like, okay, go into the Lost and Found and grab some random gym clothes and play with those. Like, yeah, they're going to probably not fit. They're going to stink because they've been there since 1975, but you have to use them. So it feels like Hogwarts, a school, should just have some spare wands on hand in case someone like Neville loses his or someone breaks their wand. Like, things happen. And in the wizarding world, you need a wand to do stuff. So how is Ron able to go the entire year without being able to cast one spell? Like, even McGonagall, when he tries to change the mug, is like, you need to get a new wand. It's like, yeah, duh, but what? Confusing. And there should also be some sort of non-profit organization that gives underprivileged wizards wands.
Agreed, yeah.
It seems like the number 3 thing besides food and shelter would be have a wand. Very confusing, and could not agree with you more on there. Also, Spellotape, what's the point? What does it do? What does Spellotape do?
They weren't using Spellotape. They were just using Scotch tape, right? It looked like,
no, it's Spellotape, but it just...
Okay, they didn't make it magical at all.
Yeah, they didn't make it magical. But is it, if it just has a tiny crack in it, you use Spellotape? Because that doesn't make a lot of sense.
It makes it backfire, which then you have to turn it around. Which I think he just didn't read the things on it. It was like, yeah, just turn your wand around and it'll shoot correctly now.
I just bought this mountain bike, and it's like people wanted to go mountain biking with me, and I was like, all right, cool, but I don't have a bike, and I'm just like Monty Python and the Holy Grailing it around this mountain biking course, just running around with all my gear on.
What is the sound of the bike though?
I I don't know, whatever a chain
is it a
sound is.
motorbike?
No, you know,
You have a chainsaw you're riding?
no, it's like the sound of the chain going around the gears. I don't know how to make that sound. Sorry.
Click, 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 click,
Yeah,
click,
there you
click,
go.
like that.
That's
There you
good.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not the guy from Police Academy. I can't do those noises. My last stock down, and you had a good one earlier, which burned half of it. But Professor McGonagall, stock down. I didn't love her in this movie, and it's no fault to the acting. It was more of the direction and the screenplay, I guess. Like, her lines didn't make a ton of sense to me. They give her Professor Binns's speech about the Chamber of Secrets. So Professor Binns, notoriously not included in Harry Potter movies. His character is completely taken out, which I understand. There's no reason to include Professor Binns. He has a few moments, and this is one of them with his Chamber of Secrets speech, which I talked about in our last pod. And it's understandable they give it to McGonagall. I got that. But she just doesn't do his speech justice. I'd never felt like, oh, this is cool lore that I'm learning. It seemed like she was just kind of talking. But more importantly, if there is a Chamber of Secrets opened and there is a monster in this school and you're addressing 12-year-olds, you probably don't want to incite or inflame. And the whole time, all she's doing is being like, yeah, so the Slytherin heir has unleashed a terrible monster that's going to kill all of the Muggle-born wizards, as she's looking at Hermione and like smiling and nodding. It's like, what? Like, maybe downplay it a bit.
Everyone, nothing to worry about.
And then she ends it with just like, yeah, we looked at the school and we never found it. But she pretty much tells them that all the Muggle-born wizards are in for it. So I just thought her bedside manner perhaps wasn't the best in the movies. Yeah. She goes a little hard in the paint, and it's probably not necessary. Although I was laughing the whole time. What about favorite scene in the movie itself? I really just liked, once again, a lot of the stuff in the first act. Pretty much from the Weasley house, which was super cool, until Nocturne Alley, through Diagon Alley, and meeting Lockhart. All of that stuff I found to be wonderful. It was another great back integration into the Wizarding world. I did kind of like how they made the whole car scene more of like an exciting scene as opposed to just like Harry and Ron driving around. Granted, it was pretty quick in the book. I'm interested why they would need to, the movie's long, so why they needed to make it like Harry falls out of the car, which would be traumatic on its own. But at the same time, it was fun. They turned it into a little Mission Impossible type stuff. So, yeah, I think that first part kind of tickled me in a good way.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say the spider scene. I think the spider scene, and every scene that there's action, I think they did, outside of like the magic stuff you were talking about, like the spell stuff, they did amplify every scene. Where like the spider scene was a quick scene where they escape, and they ran out of there, the car helped them, but that scene like lasted like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I was like, oh wow, this is much longer and like more scary than the book made it. So I do think they did a really good job of having more impactful or more memorable action sequences.
Yeah, there's not a lot of action sequences necessarily in the books. And if you're going to make this a cinematic blockbuster, I think having super fun action scenes makes sense. So stretching it out to include that, I thought was good. And I agree with you. That scene was fun. Just all the spiders and whatnot, and Aragog himself. Pretty cool. I got a couple studio notes for you. We got this movie is an 8280 on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It made 878 million worldwide, so I think that's less than the first one, but pretty close. It's the longest movie of the series at 2 hours and 41 minutes, even though it's the shortest book. I don't know who made that decision, but that is the case nonetheless. Filming for this movie began 3 days after filming was concluded for Sorcerer's Stone, so that's why the kids look pretty much the same. But I do wonder if that was a cognizant decision because the kids are in potentially like the prime of their puberty where they didn't want them to age too much going into the next one.
I thought they actually looked a lot older. Like most of them it seemed like they hit puberty already. Malfoy, I thought. Was
Malfoy definitely must have hit it a little earlier because he looked a little older. But I guess maybe they just wanted to release these movies back-to-back years, and so needed to do it. Like, they wanted like Christmas release and then another Christmas release, or Thanksgiving, whenever they did. And probably because they had Chris Columbus on as to direct the first two, it was like easy enough for them just to turn around, and it probably reduced production cost just to be able to like leave the sets, leave everything, and just run it back. Mm-hmm. This movie's also, The Chamber of Secrets, is also the only Harry Potter movie with a post-credit scene. I don't know if you caught the post-credit scene.
Oh, it's with Lockhart being like...
Yeah, Lockhart's new book with, it's just like, who am I?
Which I don't really care for. He's still making money off of stuff. That's kind of bullshit. I didn't like that.
Yeah, same. But it's Lockhart. It'd be like James Patterson or something like that turning out to be a total fraud, which most of those guys have like ghostwriters anyways. So
easy. Where's the book podcast?
I'm just saying. But it would turn out like that guy being a total fraud and then forgetting who he was or something like that. So yeah, I of course people would still buy his books if he came out with a new one. If he got amnesia, people would be interested.
Yeah, I had some fun facts too. If we want to throw some in there, I can definitely do that.
Yeah.
The blue Ford Anglia with J.K. Rowling and her best friend used to drive around that when they were young, and so she included it because of that, and they crashed it or destroyed 14 of them while making the film. What
else do you have for these fun facts you got?
Well, one of my loves, which we could get into later, but was the Quidditch scene, and if you could rewatch it, because I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, seems so familiar. This is so cool, but it seems really familiar. And I realized if you just close your eyes, it's a Star Wars scene. It's literally John Williams is blasting music, and people are flying by, but it sounds like lasers shooting and like ships going by. It's like and I'm like, wait, what the hell? So I was writing that down, and I was like, oh, it seems like that. I look it up.
I think he did use it.
Yeah, he used the same score in Attack of the Clones. So It literally was the same scene. I was like, no wonder I like this so much. But it was kind of crazy they're using like laser beam sounds for when they're playing Quidditch. So
I did like, and that's in one of my loves as well. If we'll just kind of jump into that as you have your fun facts, and you're more than welcome to keep releasing them. We got another long Quidditch scene. Love that. I'm in my own Star Wars universe with who's the guy Adam Driver plays when he's like more. That's,
we don't talk about the last three movies.
Yeah, not canon. I get it, but that was great for me when the long Quidditch scenes. I'm always in. If you want to put this movie to 3 hours long and include 20 more minutes of Quidditch, I'm down.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah. No. And then I always think about this all the time is how this book is translated into a bunch of different languages, and I always thought, well, what do they do with Tom Riddle, since that has to be...
yeah. Tom Marvolo Riddle.
Yeah, it has to say... And so apparently all the languages just, like, they just figured out... They just changed his name. So, like, in Spanish, it's Tom Servolo Riddle, with a Y for Riddle, and that's Soy Lord Voldemort. In French, it's, like, Tom Elvis Housador, which is...
Elvis?
Yeah, J. Suis Voldemort. So, like, you just can do that for everything. It's all of them are saying...
Voldemort.
I think they keep Voldemort for everything, but they change all the other names.
You'd have to.
Which I thought was pretty cool. So they like all the movies do the same thing when they release the movies in those other countries. They change it to the writing to that.
Interesting. My next love is I just love Lucius Malfoy. I thought he's so good and hateable, like the perfect father to Draco. Jason Isaacs, I think he did a phenomenal job. I mean, I guess he wasn't too keen on the job because it was so similar to his role as Captain Hook in the Peter Pan movies.
Oh, I was thinking from The Patriot.
No, it's the Peter Pan movies.
Yeah, he's exactly like the guy in The Patriot.
I guess he was going to, like I said, he was going to turn down the role because it was too similar to his Captain Hook in the Peter Pan movies, where you thought it was The Patriot. I fucking love The Patriot, by the way. I wish... If we had our own version of the rewatchables, I would talk about The Patriot more. Yeah, he didn't want to take it, and his family convinced him, similar to Dumbledore. Richard Harris has convinced him to take it, which I'm glad they did.
I don't really think any other person could have done as well as he did. I think a lot of the other roles, I think other actors could have done them and been fine. That one, I think, like he needed to be him, and him and Snape, I think, are the two most crucial.
Yeah, I think it was Gilderoy Lockhart was supposed to be Hugh Grant, but
I think it would have been fine.
Couldn't do it. I thought that would have been fine, like whatever. And it was also Jason Isaacs' idea for Lucius Malfoy to have long blonde hair to like differentiate him from Draco, which is iconic. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen photos and stuff of it before, but now when I read the book, I cannot picture Lucius Malfoy looking any other way.
Game of Thrones then just like stole that, ripped that real
stole
quick.
that vibe. But it was also his idea for Lucius to carry this cane that has his wand as the handle, which is not only super badass, in my opinion, but also iconic for Lucius Malfoy, and I think fits so well with that character. So I just love everything he did with the character. Big fan of Jason Isaacs in general.
He's just a really good bad guy.
Yeah, perfect. Although, and I think we've talked about this before on the pod, I think it was for that Providence gang movie or gang book that we read, but he plays like Providence Irish gangster in that show that's on like Showtime or whatever way back in the day. But he was really good in that too, doing accents and whatnot.
Really? Wow. Yeah, I thought they're gonna say he's not very good.
No, he's good in everything he does. It's
all right.
phenomenal.
Respect.
I almost want to go watch that Peter Pan movie, which I'm sure is terrible, just to see his take on Captain Hook.
Yeah.
Let's get into hates. What did you have for hates?
Myrtle and her voice, which...
Oh my god, number one. Moaning Myrtle's voice for me.
Well, I think I actually am 100% correct about my take was for the book was that she almost deserved to die. If I heard that voice one more time, I'm like, let's just kill this chick. Like, what's going on here? Like, it's so annoying. I'm going to stand pat and say that was a good call by me, but it was a hate for that.
It's so bad. The choice is so bad. And once again, I don't know if it's the actress's choice or like the direction.
It's a 37-year-old actress playing a student. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So it was Shirley Henderson.
That was like, do ghosts age? I don't think they do, right?
No, they don't, which is why they cast her, because she's going to be in future movies. So they didn't want a child actor who's then going to age.
Actually,
that's
not bad. All right. So,
yeah.
Although, couldn't you just make the child actor younger? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Like
Anyways,
cast a baby? What do you mean?
No. I'm saying like you cast someone that's 15. They're now 21. Can they not play a 15-year-old? Like, is that impossible? Why does it make more sense for a 37-year-old to play
like a ghost,
kid
so
forever?
They're not like it's hard for them to be exact, like seen as much, because they're somewhat opaque. But either way, the reasoning makes sense to me. It's just why they decided for her to go with that voice. It's so bad. It's honestly, every time she's on screen, I wanted to mute it. Like a commercial in between a couple plays of football. I wanted to mute it. Yeah. So, yeah, that was mine too. Well, I guess it was the 1A to my no hands being thrown by Arthur Weasley, Flourish and Bots. But my other one for hate, talking about voices, was there's no voice change with the Polyjuice potion in the movie. Like in the book, they take on their full form, and in the movie, they don't. And it honestly makes zero sense. It doesn't make scientific sense, because if you were to change into somebody, you would presumably change your vocal cords. Everything would change, not just the outside. Everything would change. What I do understand is that Ron and Harry would not be able to fake Crabbe and Goyle's voices to Malfoy to make him think that they were actually them. They'd be doing these voices.
I think that just shows that he doesn't like listen or care about them at all. So he doesn't even doesn't register.
I thought about that too. Like, okay, Malfoy is so narcissistic and self-involved and just talks, and these guys listen, that he doesn't even know what they sound like because he doesn't pay attention. But at the same time, it still doesn't make sense. So I really just don't understand why. Like, the only thing I could come up with was that the actors who play Crabbe and Goyle are so bad that the director didn't want to give them any lines. Because with Hagrid's character, when they do the flashback, releasing Aragog and talking to Tom, they use a different actor, but they have Hagrid do the voiceover. So I don't really know why they decided to do a voiceover with Harry and Ron's voice when Crabbe and Goyle are there.
The easy reason is because as like an 8-year-old, it's hard to understand the body changing thing, right? Like someone's they just change into these people. So, and especially since they have very short attention spans. So in order to make sure they know, they keep the voice there. So it's like, oh yeah, this is this person, but they're dressed up as that. That's what I would think.
Ah, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, so it's like, oh, I know that's still Harry. Haha, the jokes hit a little better.
Yeah.
The Freaky Friday-ish hits better. Okay. I still don't like it.
It's more of a lingering question, but can Tom Riddle and also Harry for this same reason look into the basilisk's eyes? Because how is Tom Riddle able to open up the chambers and see the snake not die?
Great question. Honestly, the best lingering question.
So I assume like if you can speak parcel tongue and you're like basically half snake, you can.
Well, obviously Harry can't look at it, otherwise Fox wouldn't have came down and blinded it.
Well, we don't know. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's one of those things. It's the chicken versus the egg. Can you look in the? If you look at the eyes, you die. But if you don't, how would you ever know if you don't look in the eyes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Tom released it, so one would assume. Yeah, don't know. Great question. My last hate is at the end with the House Cup, and they decide to end with the Hagrid slow clap, which we don't understand. Is additionally they took out Dumbledore giving Harry and Ron each 200 points for Gryffindor, which lets Gryffindor win the House Cup for the second year in a row, which in the books, like the House Cup is like a thing. You really want to win the House Cup. So Gryffindor winning 2 years in a row and Harry being the reason why, I think is important because it just makes me angrier in the later books when people start questioning Harry or thinking Harry is putting his name in the goblet of fire or whatever the case is. It bothers me because it makes sense that these guys should win the House Cup.
So you would rather that than that 5 minutes of giving Hagrid a slow clap standing ovation like he came in last place at a race? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Just making sure.
Did you have any other lingering questions?
Did not.
2 for me. How does Aragog speak English? Like, he's just a giant spider. His children don't speak English, right?
He grew up with Hagrid, so he probably was learned from that.
So there's all sorts of magical creatures that don't speak English. We saw a unicorn doesn't speak English. If it grows up with a person,
that's how it works. That's how languages work.
Hedwig doesn't speak English.
That is a good question. Are the owls not magical? They are, right?
They are, yeah. Hedwig goes all sorts of places. Like,
I don't really know why certain animals speak and others don't. It's a good question.
What is that? What is that? And then we forgot in your. This isn't necessarily like a lingering question, but more of a check-in. But we forgot when you gave Hermione the House Cup in the last episode. It was pretty much, for those that didn't listen, shame on you. But you gave her the House Cup primarily because like she didn't get the accolades she was due from the things that she did in that book, and she wasn't in it a ton.
Correct.
But we forgot that she got petrified. Like, your best friend, Harry and Ron's best friend, got petrified. She's in the hospital. Yes, I understand it's like if someone was in a coma or something and they may or may not be able to hear you, but you would presumably still go and visit them just to be near them, talk to them, even if they couldn't hear you, just to show them that you were there. But Harry and the boys, Harry and Ron, don't even go and visit her in the book on their own accord when she's petrified. Like, we forgot to mention that. They only go when they get caught by McGonagall outside of the dormitory, and they use that as an excuse to like, oh, we were going to see Hermione. And she's like, oh, of course you guys would want to do that, which they don't want to do. They just use that as an excuse. So somehow Harry knows that he should be wanting to do that, which is then how they find the note in her hand that the basilisk is in the pipes. But kind of shame on them for never checking in on Hermione.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough look.
Just another reason why Hermione deserved that House Cup. Well, that pretty much does it for Chamber of Secrets. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add before we get out of here?
Read book 3. We got Prisoner of Azkaban coming up. Book 3, then the movie. We're on a roll. hopefully they'll be coming to you shortly here.
Yeah, Azkaban coming next, and I think we're going to have a special guest, or a returning special guest. Yeah, so it should be exciting. So that was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets movie, 2 hours and 41 minutes long. I watched it in 2 sittings because I'm old. Could not handle it in one. And coming up next, we got Prisoner of Azkaban, which I am very excited about. Have you finished?
No, I'm pretty close.
That's what she said. I am about halfway there, which is what I said.
Okay.
So I'll catch you for that one probably next week.
Alrighty.
All right.
Good stuff.
Bye now.
Bye now.